always, excited and delighted to be here. And I'm really having a blast with my producer. I have a couple of producers. One is very elegant and soft spoken and witty and charming. And the other is also charming and also witty. However, he gets me laughing before the show, which is always a good thing, especially when we have these little funny glitches. Oh, and he says he's tall as well. How do you like that? I wouldn't know. We haven't met in person. See, that's the benefit of airways, benefit of technology when it works. Speaking of technology, I thought I'd share a little funny today. I'm always running into these interesting scenarios when it comes to electricity or electronics. And today, I was moving some things from one storage unit into another, which meant having to take an elevator to go upstairs. And like all of us, at some point or another, I held the elevator door open. This way, it would give me a moment to grab some more things so that I could move in. Well, not a good idea. Next thing you know, there's alarms blaring all over the place, like, and of course, there's a button in the elevator enabling you to call the office, right? So one would think, well, I push the button, nothing happens. I wait a little bit, push it again. Then I get somebody and they go, oh, we hear it. We're on our way. And someone comes from the office and she says, you broke it. You must have left it open too long. And when I tell you I left it open for a moment just so that I could run from point A to point B and back. And point B, by the way, was only about 2 feet outside of the elevator. Not good. The buzzer continued to go off, and I am not exaggerating, for another hour and a half, possibly longer. I was only there for an hour and a half. So, oh my, talk about energy going wonky. And then people will say, well, it's also since we had the solar eclipse, there's that whole thing with that. You know, it's interesting. I remember as a child seeing the solar eclipse. And of course, with the special goggles, or they taught us how to use a box where you put a little pinhole on one side and a larger hole on the other side. And obviously, the pinhole is the part that you would see the sun, and the bigger side was closest to your eye. We never had a problem. This particular solar eclipse, and I know I mentioned it previously, but it just gets my goat because here it is after the fact, and everybody's saying, oh my gosh, all of these things are happening because of the solar eclipse. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that the planets have an impact on us. I do believe that when situations happen, we can experience different things. And yet, a solar eclipse is not the fault for every single thing that has happened. I could say that the elevator today being wonky was because of the solar eclipse. Doesn't make sense, does it? No. All right, I'm off of my soapbox. I do want to share something, though, that is not my typical, and that is death. You often hear me speak about energy and how all things are energy. Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's no longer with us, he used to talk about that. Dr. Emoto, who taught us about the molecular structure of water and how it changes based on command, based on emotion, just like us. It's an energy. There are so many more philosophers, teachers, authors, scientists, and spiritualists, metaphysicians. We could keep going. Wise women, wise men. I'll leave it there. They all agree, though, that we are really energetic particles. And what that means is we have the ability to manipulate those. We have something called epigenetics, which you may or may not be familiar with. And it has to do with being able to shift a predisposition, to change our chemical makeup, to literally release and transmute something that is within us. Kind of fascinating, right? And how it works is we begin a process, and there's multiple processes, too long to go into this evening. However, there are multiple processes, excuse me, where you focus your energy differently, and as a result, things change. I know that it is in the simplest form, but if you have an opportunity to take a look at epigenetics, and if you're wondering, okay, you just said something about death, and then you went to energy, and then you went to epigenetics, it's because it's all tied in. We are multi generations of energy from our previous generations, meaning Nobody ever dies. We think in terms of the corporal body, the physical body that passes. And yes, it does. Like all things, at some point, it leaves, it changes. We go from a physical form to dust. Now, that's not an appealing thought to us, obviously. However, our energy, that never dies. It remains. This is why people can go into a home years after someone has been deceased and say, ooh, I sense so and so, and they did this and they did that because they tap into that energy. Now, oftentimes when someone comes for a reading, they'll say something to the effect of, oh, I have a question about my mom or my grandma or my brother or my girlfriend or whomever. And they want to know about them because they are deceased. And I always tell them the truth, which is I'm not a medium. I am psychic in a multitude of ways, but I'm not a medium. However, on occasion, I do get a message. And what that does for me is it proves to me, and it usually proves to the client as well, that their loved one is still there. Here's the funny thing. We're so used to our vision being this way. It's neatly fitting in this box, right? And it has to do with how we are raised. It has to do with who our examples were. It has to do with our teachers, our beliefs. That itself is an energy. And that influences how we see our world. It influences whether we believe that grandma can communicate from the beyond or if grandma is just gone. Now, obviously, religion plays into that as well. And yet, even in religion, I find it fascinating how periodically there's something that's kind of slipped in there that would almost seem metaphysical, actually is metaphysical. For instance, I remember being in yeshiva as a small child. And if you're unfamiliar with yeshiva, it's a term for Jewish religious school. And I'm saying around Yom Kippur that our hand will inscribe us in the book of life, or it won't. And when we go to sleep, that we communicate with God. And at the time I thought, wait, what? How does that work? It wasn't until probably about age 6, 7, which still is relatively young, that I understood more of what that meant. It's not that our physical hand goes up and writes in the day of a journal that has to do with the soul. It's more a matter of that part of us that is the essence that is connected to all of creation, that is connected to the divine, connected to God, connected to the universe, allows itself to communicate with ease and with peace when we're asleep. This is why many people who are busy minded during the day don't understand when they get peculiar dreams. And I'll give an example. I have a friend who, for many years, she did not want to admit or agree to the fact that she had prophetic abilities, that she had psychic abilities. She would go to sleep and dream about someone passing. And it terrified her because, oh my gosh, what a horrible thing. It had to do with the women in her family. It had to do with them having breast cancer. And she would dream about this person passing. And then, undoubtedly, within a short period of time, someone would call and say, Aunt so and so is unwell, or your uncle, or somebody else. But they would all relate back to somebody in the family having breast cancer. And it's very disturbing if you think that life ends. Now, granted, when someone passes, we can't hug them. You know, that physical touch that makes a big difference. There's just something so special about hugging someone, holding them, and not having that ability anymore. Yes, that is disturbing. And yet, we can still communicate. We can communicate by envisioning them in our dreams and seeing us walking down a path, knowing that at the end of the path, we'll run into them at the curve of the path. Or we can make an affirmation before we go to bed and ask that they visit us. I bring this up because today a friend actually lost one of her pups. And this was an older pup, I believe 16 years old or 17 years old. What a sweet, sweet animal. And her spirit is still around. she can still connect with her. And I know for myself, with all of my little ones that have passed, I've felt them. And so many people who say they have no intuitive ability whatsoever often will say, wow, I felt like they jumped on the bed, or I could have sworn I saw them out of the corner of my eye, because they did. Just something to think about, because we're in a state of our world where we wonder sometimes what's next. It's good to know that no matter what happens, we will go on. It's funny, I'm reminded of a song from a movie, but that's for another time. Carla, I believe, from Sacramento is on the line. Hello, hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Did you have a particular question that you wanted to address this evening?
I just wanted to ask about a certain person. Do you need his name
I'm,
and
s-
birthday?
I'm sorry, say that one more time. I'm sorry, I cut out the connection.
I said I wanted to ask about a certain person. Do you need his name and birthday?
No, just first name is fine.
Okay. I just wanted to know, will Miles be returning at all?
Oh boy. This is tough for you because I feel like there really was a heart connection there, probably more so than with anybody. There's just such a strong, strong sensation there. And I would love to say, yes, he'll be back tomorrow, but I don't get that. I do get that you're thought of. I feel as if they are working through issues of their own. I feel like you will hear from them again, but I don't get them returning in the sense of being in your life full time. Does that answer your question, hon?
So you mean like when you say not full time, that just means that he can come back and it won't work again?
That means more like, hi, I was thinking about you, a phone call or a text, or showing up on the doorstep unexpectedly and you have a moment or two and then they're not in your life. I just feel like, oh goodness, this individual has had many years and many opportunities to make changes for themselves so that they could be more harmonious inside. And I feel like they fight that process. It's almost that idea of I am who I am and that's it. And I don't need to change anything. I don't need to see things differently. I don't need to do anything differently. And this is part of the glitch here, where if this individual were to take a closer look at themselves, they would recognize that just a little tiny tweak would make a massive difference. So I don't mean to go on in a circle here, so please forgive me. It's just the sense that you will hear from them again, but I don't see them in your world on a consistent daily basis. And so what that means to me is leave your heart open for another. There's an old saying
Okay, that makes
about let go, let let love, or let go and let God. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it makes sense because as soon as you do that, as soon as you kind of open your heart, open your space, then you allow that right person to come in. Even though they felt like the right person in your space, there is someone else. I'm hearing the number eight. We're in what? We're in April? Yes, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So figure by December, if you are able to just say, okay, this was an important part of my life, reminded me that I could love, that I could feel deeply and very connected to someone. And now in this moment, I have to just say thank you and move on. Then by the end of the year, you have someone truly, I'm going to say unique, coming into your world. Very different than what you would expect and very different than someone that you would anticipate having a relationship with. And yet I feel like there's going to be such deep, beautiful feelings that you will be so excited that you were able to say, thank you for the past, but I'm moving forward.
got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You are very welcome. And may I share something else?
Yes.
Okay. Throat. Take care of your throat. I feel like there are moments when you really need to speak up more and you hold back because you don't want to hurt people's feelings or you think it's not the right time. Speak up. Just ask yourself in your head, what should I say? Or how should I say this? And then just speak. Because when it comes to protecting other people, you have no problem opening your mouth. But but you need to do better for you.
Okay. Thank you. That's true.
Okay. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye. Okay, so if you're wondering why it is sometimes I pick up a part of the body when I'm talking with someone, it's not because I'm a medical intuitive. I guess, oops, as I knock over the camera here, it's not specifically about that. It's more in alignment with whatever else is going on in somebody's life. So, for instance, if I don't speak up, if I don't share my truth, I could end up with a sore throat. I could end up with my heart being sad. So keep in mind that your body signals whatever else needs to be known. And I believe I just saw Sheila from Nova Scotia. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. So, how can I help you this evening? Did you have a specific area of focus?
Do you have the general? Can I just ask you how Majestic's doing? And my dad,
Oh,
too?
you say majestic?
And my
Could you
dad,
repeat? Okay,
please?
your dad. I'm sorry, go ahead. There seems to be a little bit of a gap in the sound. Could you repeat what you were saying, honey? I'm sorry.
Oh, I called in for a general reading. Um, but could you just please tell me how Majestic and my dad are doing?
Okay. I don't get them around you.
Oh,
It's interesting. I feel like it's more a matter of I get contentment, I get um, peace, I get comfort, but I don't get them around you right now.
okay.
That's not a bad thing. It just means that in this moment, there is a bit of space, a bit of, if you will, energetic separation. I don't get anything to be concerned about because I get the word peace right off the bat.
Okay.
Okay. And as far as general reading, okay. So a whole bunch of stuff comes in at once. Goodness. So let me see how much I can give you in a moment. All right. Finances. Think September, change in finances, really important to pay attention to. Anything that you can do to save until September and then invest, that would be brilliant. Anything that you want to sell or purchase, September is like the best month for you to do that. So please keep that in mind because I feel like anything before is actually going to run more than what it should. Whereas if you can hold out and wait till September, that's going to work out better for you. Okay. Also, I'm getting knees and just above the knees. So, like lower thigh to knees. This has to do with taking big steps forward. I feel like there is some, I'll say, concern, a little bit of fear. That's old. That has nothing to do with right now. Please allow yourself to make the moves that you know you should make. And when I say you know you should, there's this vacillation back and forth, should I, shouldn't I, how should I? Take a breath and get quiet for a moment, close your eyes and say, should I move now? Like just trust that your own knowing is going to guide you because it will. It is time to make steps forward. It is time to make big steps forward. That makes sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Because again, you got to let go of old stuff, hon. I just feel like in the past, you have made certain changes and they didn't turn out the way that you had expected. And we could say that's general, but specific to you, it's taking away the fear and allowing yourself to be brave and confident now, knowing that what comes next is better. However, if you wait too long, then that window closes until another window opens. And the whole feeling here is I'd say I wouldn't wait more than 10 months, year max, to make these major changes, because otherwise you're going to have to wait, could be as long as 5 years to have another opportunity. And that doesn't make sense. Okay. The other thing is you have loved ones from the other side. You have angels, you have guardians, you actually have people that love you on the other side that are trying to communicate. You're pretty intuitive when you pay attention. It's funny. That seems to be the theme with a lot of folks. Start listening. What I mean is, if you think a thought and you say to yourself, well, that's a weird thought. Why did I think that? Know that it's not a regular thought. Know that it is an intuitive thought. And I'm not talking about like, oh my God, I shouldn't go in my car today. That could be fear. So check in with yourself. Is there a reason? Did you not want to leave the house? However, if it's a thought that seems like really strange, such as stop at the milk and pick up orange juice, and you look in your fridge and you go, that's silly. I have 3 containers of orange juice. Pick up the orange juice anyways. It's an intuitive thought. It's guiding you. I'm giving a silly example. The idea is to pay more attention to your own knowing because you are being guided. The other thing is I hear Celtic and Greek. So you have influences from the other side, from the spirit realm. Don't like the other side. I'm just going to say the spirit realm that are influencing you and guiding you and are there to assist you if you open up to it. You may want to, before you go to sleep at night, put a pad and a pen next to your bed and also say, I'm open to hearing voices of my loved ones. Just say it that way. It doesn't have to be a specific angel, a specific this, a specific that. Just, I am open to hearing the voices of my loved ones. Is this making sense, I hope?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because you have help beyond this moment. And I feel like that's so important to you. The other thing is there's some creativity that you could be tapping back into. Even with that, listen to your gut. Listen to that feeling that says, oh, I should sit down and I should do this, or I should go to that class. Pay attention. You have a couple of gifts there that you're not utilizing, and it would be lovely if you start paying attention to them. The other thing is you are really wonderful at guiding children. And I don't mean as in a 12-year-old taking them to school or giving them directions. I mean, little ones. There seems to be an affinity there. Maybe you could be a little bit more involved in some scenario where you can spend more time with little ones because there seems to be this exchange of joy, this energetic fulfillment, if you will, that I get when you're around little ones. Okay, the other thing
Yeah,
I'm hearing too.
I have 4 children, but they're grown up now, and my granddaughter, she's a teenager now. I used to spend a lot of time with her and take care of her. Mm-hmm. I spend a
Wonderful.
lot of time with her.
Well, it's your granddaughter, which is awesome. And I will say as well, other little ones, which means if your granddaughter has a little friend that you could spend some time with also, that's lovely. If there is a local preschool that you might be able to volunteer at, even if it's just one day a month, I feel like your heart would be so filled with joy and you would be giving them a lot of joy as well. So just consider that because again, I just feel that there's a gift there that's not been fully cultivated and it comes naturally to you. We all have a predisposition for things in our world. Thank you so much for calling in. I wish you a beautiful
so
evening.
much.
My pleasure. Take good care.
Take care.
If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to reach out to me at my office, which is 561-755-2166. If you're in the Boca Raton, Palm Beach, or Broward area of the U.S., in Florida, give me your jingle. I am starting some new classes that you may have an interest in. As well, do visit me on LinkedIn and Facebook and let's see, Pinterest. Who am I missing? Occasionally on X, which used to be Twitter. I try to put out different content in different places. Thanks so much and have a lovely evening.